I'd like to call to order the August 9th meeting of the Shelby Township Planning Commission. We'll ask the secretary to call the roll, please.
Mr. Luray?
Here.
Mr. Snyder?
Here.
Mr. Meredith?
Here.
Ms. Gonzalez? Here. Mr. Grott?
Here.
Mr. Turner?
Here.
Mr. Apone?
Here.
Chairman Moffett, we have a quorum.
Great, thank you. I do want to mention one thing before the old Shelby Grill that used to be the Dairy Queen at 25 in Shelby came before this body several months ago, and they just remodeled it and redid it. It looks fantastic. If the food's half as good as the exterior, we're in good shape. So I encourage everybody out there, once they do open, it doesn't look like they're open. It's just nice to see somebody committed. They had been there, they had run the restaurant for many years, and then decided to put significant resources into redeveloping it. Went through the process, listened to to this body's comments, and just from the look at it, it looks fantastic. So I encourage people to at least give them a shot. Thank you. Next item is approval of the agenda.
So move.
Support.
It's been moved and supported. All in favor?
Aye.
Next, motion carries. Next item, approval of the minutes from the July 26, 2021 meeting.
So move. Support.
Moved and supported. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, motion carries. This evening, we've got three items. The first is site plan number 21-16, PUD number 3, Phil Ruggieri for 25-mile Jewel Properties. This is an item that's been before this body several times. Last time it was, following the public hearing, it was postponed. There were a few items that needed clarification, some information needed to be provided to the township, and then a few things that were raised that evening. So I'll ask the petitioner or representative to come up, state your name and address, and make sure you sign in, and give us an update.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. For the record, Phil Ruggieri, appearing on behalf of the petitioner. I have with me Jeff Allegot, he's our engineer, and I have Jim Epping, he's our landscape architect. Yes, as if you'll recall from our last meeting, we had our public hearing. There were a lot of issues that were raised by the residents as well as the Planning Commission, and I believe that our team has addressed those particular issues. And since that time, we had gone ahead and obtained a tree survey of the entire property at a significant cost, but at least it helped identify and isolate all the trees that were on the property. And then we worked very closely with our planning department to determine what would be able to be saved and what wouldn't be able to be saved based upon the development. But essentially, maybe you can help me, Jim. I want to make sure I got this right. We have on a flash drive, just by recollection, the site itself at the northeast corner of 25 and Jewel. It's 18.45 acres. And we have essentially 35 lots. Majority of these lots are 90 to 100 foot in frontage. It computes to 1.9 units per acre, although we're allowed as many as 3 per acre, which would give us a yield of 55 lots if we had so chosen that direction. And the next slide, thank you, Jim. Next slide highlights some of the changes that we made in the revisions to address the majority's concern of the neighbors, et cetera. If you look to the ponding area, we're going to be extending another row of additional evergreens to help buffer the property owner that's just to the north. And the pond itself will be a wet pond. It's not going to be a dry pond. It'll have a water feature with a fountain and aeration so that we can make sure that that stays clean. It's not a haven for mosquitoes and things of that nature. And we've added some other decorative landscaping along the frontage just to give it that extra special touch. And if you can move over to the east, there are 2 particular areas at the end of the cul-de-sac that we wanted to address for neighbors that were concerned about headlights from vehicles driving in. So what we have done is we made all the driveways parallel to one another. That eliminates that slanting that we had from our last meeting. That's at both cul-de-sacs, if you can see that. And then we've added extensive landscaping to the east of the cul-de-sacs so that gives that extra special prevention of any headlight issues or things of that nature with the residents. We've also extended the sidewalk down below along 25 Mile Road, and we also have the sidewalk right up to the houses that exist in that white area. To the southwest corner, we have a substantial berming with the landscaping on top of that. The idea was to completely isolate all those lots down in that area from 25 Mile Road. Avoids any of the traffic noise that is attendant from 25 Mile Road, and also gives us much more landscaping and beautification for the sub to keep it natural. And as you can see overall, there's a lot of trees that will be planted along the main roads, along the exterior of the detention pond, and then we've got that row of trees that separates the two cul-de-sacs in between. So when all these trees mature, this is going to be a very beautiful subdivision with a lot of greenery. And what we've done is we've taken great effort to preserve what we can with trees. We've met very closely with planning. You're going to see there's going to be a significant number of trees that do come down because we have to put in the development. You're going to have to put in the infrastructure, utilities, cable, the road system, et cetera, and you have to have the footprints available for the houses themselves. But what we do eliminate, we will be restoring as we presented to give it that nice rural appeal. We've got gapping areas where there are no utilities. We will maintain those trees that we can. And the idea is to save as much as possible, but we are very well constrained in that direction. The next slide shows you the entranceway. Again, it's a very beautiful entranceway. It's got a nice light toned brick stone effect, and it'll look very elegant when you drive by that area or into the subdivision. It's a high-end subdivision, no question about it. The next slide, it kind of shows you the road network to the north, but before I get into that, if you look to the east of our property line, there are significant trees that are already there, and they remain on the adjacent property owner's property. So those trees will not be touched because they're not on our property. So that'll also give us that additional buffer from our development by them having their trees maintained, and also to the north, if you see all those trees in there by those adjoining property owners. The connection to Theo, there was issues raised about traffic from our subdivision going north. Well, that's totally unlikely. If you look at the road system going in north on Theo, they have to go to the east and follow the road down all the way to 25. That's the way they get in and out. They do not have an access point whatsoever onto Jewel Road. Now, conversely, I'm sure some of these residents would find it to be convenient to cut down through our sub and then go out to Jewel, which certainly is allowable, but that's really where the traffic's going to happen that's different than what they're accustomed to. We're not putting any traffic into their sub, but we probably will have traffic into our sub. And the idea is that we have that open connection that was a stub street, so it also helps everyone to have that ultimate connection. And meeting with the fire department, it's absolutely essential that we have that, because if you ever have a situation where there's a fire or disaster on any of those lots in the entranceway, the fire trucks will absolutely block any way to get in and out of the sub. So if you didn't have that additional connection to Theo, all the residents to the east would be in a very, very difficult situation. Plus, it also allows emergency access not only to the residents to the north, but to ours as well. So it's a big, strong safety feature. I believe that's the sum and substance of our changes. We think we've got an outstanding subdivision. I've already got 10 reservations on it, and I haven't even advertised other than a sign. The lots themselves are ranging in $170,000 to $200,000 range. So this is a significant subdivision. This is not, like I said, I didn't try to pump in here 55 lots to make it a small sub and just to try to get all that density. I want it to be a very, very boutique subdivision that'll be extravagant and be well-received by this township. Plus, I live across the street. I live in Whitney Estates. I certainly don't want to put in something that's going to be detrimental to the area. So I'm here to answer questions. Certainly Jeff can on a technical basis, as well as Jeff. Thank you.
Great, thank you. There were a few items, why don't you hang up for a second?
Trying to get away.
You did submit the master deed to the township?
Yes, I have, and Mary Ann Denowith from Kirk and Huth's office has reviewed it. She submitted a letter to us saying that the draft has been acceptable at this stage. She has no problem with it.
In the bylaws?
And the bylaws, both master deed bylaws. The minimum square footage for a first level is 2,400, and a split in a colonial or two-story is 2,800. That's the minimum standard.
Okay. There were questions on the lights, the lighting, the impact of lights to the residents to the east. Now, did you adjust the garages?
Yeah, we did. We adjusted the driveways so that they're parallel to one another, so the headlights, when they turn in, their lights go north and south, not east and west.
Okay.
Yeah, that was a significant change that we felt was important for the residents.
Okay. All right, thank you.
Sure.
To the planner for your comments, and if maybe talk a little bit about some of the engineering issues that were raised last time, that we had some question marks and
Sure. Thank you, Chairman.
it's been addressed.
So I would like to recommend some additional landscaping evergreens between units 32 and 35 and units 6 and 10 along the southwest property line on unit 11. So as far as the crosswalk, there's also a comment from the building department. The crosswalk along Encore Drive is discouraged unless pedestrian crossing markings and signage is provided. And then Mr. Ruggieri has also agreed to special placement requirements for egress windows and air conditioners will not be permitted in the side yard setback. They will be located in the rear of the setback. I know there was one comment also brought in the location of the retention pond, and due to the elevation of the ground, that is the most feasible location for the retention pond, as the southwest corner of the site is 10 feet higher, 10 feet above grade than where the location of the detention pond is. So that's the only feasible location for that as well. As far as the driveway location along Jewel Road, there's going to be a taper lane installed on the west side of Jewel Road, and technically, I believe, and along with the Macomb County Road Commission, they've approved that driveway location as presented, and I think it would not be feasible along 25 Mile, as if you put in a road along 25 Mile, you're going to have a road going behind the houses along Lordona. So I think that is the best location as far as the driveway off of Jewel Road. Mr. Ruggieri has addressed the site plan. We did an overlay of all the utilities and infrastructure compared to the tree permit submission that he submitted, and he is going to be filling in the areas of the sewers as they extend in between some of the lots and between the homes abutting parcels. He's offered to add additional landscaping to prevent any lights or any nuisances to the neighbors to the north or east, I should say, as well. So as far as the density is, as he said, 1.9 units per acre, whereas R1B zoning district, you're allowed 3 units per acre. So this is well under the density of the zoning district. As Mr. Ruggieri said, master deed and bylaws have been submitted. The attorneys and the engineers have also reviewed it and recommended approval based on what he submitted thus far.
Okay, thank you. You did touch on one thing I wanted to ask you about, and that was, we did receive a correspondence from one of the neighbors regarding the placement of the entrance on Jewel versus 25 Mile Road. Mm-hmm. You expressed, I wanted you to get your opinion on that. It seems, so the Road Commission has approved the location.
Correct.
And the taper as it exists.
As presented, correct.
Okay. All right, it was never presented to them, 25 Mile Road, and I get, okay, well, this board will determine whether it's feasible, frankly, to even consider another location for that. Second item, we also received another letter this morning regarding gating, that putting some sort of knockout gate. Now, the position, from what I had read from our public safety professionals within the township, was they did not recommend that. And what would your opinion as a?
Correct. So for public safety, Mr. Moffett, yes, we do recommend where stub streets end, as Theo has ends, that there's always opportunity for connection. If that was never intended to be connected, it would either have been constructed as a cul-de-sac or it would have been constructed as a hammerhead drive. And then that indicates that that road is not to be extended. So in any opportunities where we have the ability to connect roads, the fire department requests that we connect all the roads.
Okay, thank you. We've had the public hearing on this item, so I just want, anything that has been presented to this body has been shared with the entire body. Those issues will be considered when ultimately we make whatever recommendation that we do make. Thank you. With that, I'll bring it back to the board to see if there are any questions or comments from
Mr. Chairman?
my colleagues. Mr. Turner.
Mr. Ruggieri, last time I made some recommendations, I thought, one, you were going to probably have a heart attack deleting the lots, but I appreciate you relocating the driveways. I brought that up about to make the lights less intrusive to the residents to your east. You've preserved the trees in the north and east. The question I have that I did bring up is, what would you say to the residents who would move in here, who don't have centralized open space on the east side of your property? It's just on the southwest corner. What area of open space do they have? Because we are talking about a PUD with open space, so can you just give me your
Did you
thoughts
say
on
the
it?
southwest?
If I'm on lot 25, where is the open space that my daughter or son or grandkids can come play in? Because on the southwest corner, you have that open space right at 25 and Jewel.
Well, Jeff, maybe you could answer some of that, and Jim, but if you look to the detention area, there's significant area surrounding that, okay? And certainly the cul-de-sacs have been extended. They're much larger than they were the last time we were here. And we certainly have the row of trees that's all open space that connects, that is absolutely in the middle of the two cul-de-sac rows. So that in itself gives you plenty of open space. And then obviously we have a whole walking system throughout our development with the sidewalks and with all the trees that are presented in the entranceway and to the north. I think you're going to find it to be very woodsy.
I appreciate that. And as far as the connection to Theo, I had some qualms about it last time, but I'm going to defer to the fire department on that, and if they believe it should be connected, it should be connected. I've never really been a fan of one way in, one way out, because if that way in gets blocked, you got a big problem inside your development. So that's all I had. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Mr. Turner. Anyone else wish to comment?
Mr. Chairman.
Mr. Grant.
Mr. Ruggieri, sidewalk on 25 Mile Road, was that ever part of discussion?
Yes, we have sidewalks going east and west from Jewel right to the houses that are existing. We don't own that property, obviously. And then past the homes, we have the sidewalks. Is that correct? Yeah. Those property owners you have to deal with directly to obtain a sidewalk easement, which I'd be more than happy to.
25 Mile Road will have sidewalks?
Yes. Eventually, I think the township wants sidewalks all along here, but so we're providing everything going east and west up to those houses. I've also secured across the street on the north side of 25, free of charge to the township, I've secured sidewalk easements that run from Jewel Road going west along the north side of 25 right to Whitney Estates.
Nice, thank you.
You're welcome.
One other question, that detention pond, you said it's going to be wet?
Well, it's going to be a water feature.
Water feature.
It'll have water with a fountain that aerates it, keeps it clean, keeps the water moving, so that you don't have.
And you also have a sidewalk there as well?
Yes. Is that correct, Jeff?
Which is a plus.
Yeah, the
What about-
sidewalk is on both sides, in front of all the property.
What about a green buffer between the pond and that house there on,
To the north? Yes. we are adding significantly more density of landscaping, just a buffer. I think there's some evergreens, et cetera, Jim. Maybe you could address
that one.
exactly with precision, but
Yeah.
if you look to that slide.
Yep.
Yeah. Is that the one that's up there? Yes. If you look to the north of that, Mr. Gratt, you'll see we've added more landscaping to the north of that. So you basically isolate that pond to the neighbor to the north. But it's a very nice feature because it'll have the fountain and so on. So it's nothing that's going to be of any detriment or.
Have you talked to the neighbors there to the north to make sure
Yes,
they are
I believe,
satisfied?
is that Laura over there? Yes, we talked, even here at the township offices, I indicated that we'd be more than happy to provide that additional landscaping, and if she needs a little bit more into her backyard, we have no problem adding more into her backyard if she'd like, but I can't do that unless she acquiesces
Right.
because
So
it's her property.
This issue will be coming in front of the Board of Trustees, so we're gonna, at least I'm gonna have one more crack at it when it comes there. But I want to thank you for cooperating with this board, with the planning, and single-family homes selling like hotcakes right now, so.
It's crazy.
And that's what we want. We want very nice, beautiful development in Shelby Township in that area, so I want
But
to.
I just wanted to play away, or stay away from those big developments that have a lot of homes and are smaller lots, smaller homes. Shelby still has nice pockets of beautiful homes, and I want to preserve that. And I
Right.
think this is a perfect spot to do it.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Mr. Grott. Is there anyone else wish to comment? The board. There are a few new items that were raised, so if anyone from the public wants to comment on the new issues, but again, we're not going to revisit things that we addressed in the public hearing, so I'll give a little bit of latitude. But sir, if you want to come up, I need your name and your address and make sure you sign in. Yeah.
Theo Kiprianides, 55127 Jewel Road. So I know you said that you received my email, so I'm not going to go through all the points that were mentioned there. But I do think it's a little strange that the entrance on 25 Mile was never considered. Because when we spoke to Robert Bush at the Macomb County Road Commission, he said, we approved the plans that were given to us. He didn't say we had a choice between 25 or Jewel Road. And if you look at the way that the plans are sitting right there, I think you could argue that, off the top of my head, I think it's lots 5 and 11, you could possibly have entrances there. And you could have two dual entrances that don't interfere with Jewel Road. That was my first thought. So why isn't it possible that that's brought up with the Macomb County Road Commission?
You've made your argument, and this board will consider whether it's appropriate, what's proposed to go on Jewel, or whether if we don't believe it's appropriate, then maybe we'll table this and ask them to look at it a different way.
Sure.
But,
Okay.
your point's been made.
Okay, well, and then my second question is for Mr. Turner. Last time you had the idea to cut the houses down from 35 to 30, and you again mentioned it now. And is it okay that if a developer says, I'm not doing that we just accept it?
Mr. Turner asked, and I don't want to speak for him, whether it was feasible or not, or to the developer, and the developer gave his honest opinion, no. What he is able to build is 55 lots, or 55 lots on that parcel. He could do 55 lots. He's chose to do a reduced number through this PUD process for a little bit of flexibility with it. So,
Okay, anything on your
Well, I
side?
think, Mr. Chairman,
that's it.
questions.
Yeah.
Oh, sorry,
Exactly.
it was for him. I just wanted
No,
to know
but
if Turner had any comment.
to the board, to the chair.
Okay, I'm sorry,
and,
yeah.
Mr. Turner.
I brought that up in context of what we can try to do to minimize the lighting to the east. And I said the driveways were an issue. I asked that question knowing that he was not going to delete necessarily 5 lots. I brought it in the context of trying to get it down to 30 so we wouldn't have to have a connection. That was my suggestion. My suggestion is only a suggestion. It's an idea and opinion. He could put in a lot more, 55 lots, so I'll take 35 over 55 any day. So that's the context of what I was pointing out at when I made that suggestion.
Okay, thank you.
Yep.
Thanks.
Okay.
Hey, Garrett Nemo, 55233 Lordana Lane. My question is there a survey map of all the trees that we can overlay to see where all those existing trees are at? And so we understand what trees are staying and which ones don't. I haven't seen the survey, so this is new news to me, other than what I can see in the backside of my lot, which the trees that are tagged. What trees are available to be shown on a map so we understand what trees are staying, which trees are going?
Actually, if you want to see a copy of the tree survey, you can come to the planning department and take a look at them. Take a look at that. We're not in a position right now to, and frankly, not in a position to tell Mr. Ruggieri, okay, keep this tree, cut that tree, keep this tree, cut that tree. I mean, he's required to do the ordinance. There are within the ordinance requirements that he has on what trees he must keep. And then there were some demands made of him on other landscaping that he put on, which if you want to comment on that, because he did add some significant landscaping and even the planner today offered additional suggestions on where to put landscaping.
I appreciate the additional buffers. I'm one of the residents on the east side that it will be getting at the end of the cul-de-sacs. We'll be getting the headlights that are coming at us. The only thing I would ask for is, if possible, there is some open space that is there to try to fill that in as much as possible, because I will be getting the direct headlights to my home, right?
I really, take a look. Planning department would be happy to go through it with you. And as Mr. Grott had indicated earlier, this body just is a recommending body. So we'll make a recommendation this evening. Ultimately, it's going to go back to the board to make the final approval on it. And if there are some tweaks, perhaps, or if this body does approve it, there's an opportunity to address it then.
So then the last thing would be, connecting to the existing sub. Obviously, there's some safety issues there, but I don't quite understand how come some subs in the township that have more than 35 units and don't have a second enter or exit, when there is absolutely a possibility of that to happen. The one that's at 25 in Shelby area, that brand new sub, there's over 35 units there. There could be a entrance and connection to an existing sub, but it was not. So I just don't understand.
Again, each circumstance is different. We draw on the expertise of the professionals within the township, and again, not knowing all the particulars of the site, it's hard to comment.
Understood, but I mean, even in his community, he lives in Whitney, there's one entrance and one exit, and there's over 100 units in that entire sub. Interesting. And so he's in the back of the sub where there's no traffic, and there's only one entrance and one exit in the Whitney.
Okay.
Interesting. Just don't understand why.
Okay. Is anyone else? Okay, sir.
Uh, 55121 Lord Donna Lane.
Your name, sir?
Alan Bull, B-U-L-L. Okay?
Yep.
Yeah. When they had the long shot of this deployment of these houses and everything, in the area that it's in, it just shows the forward thinking of the planners of the Lord Donna estate, because this, to me, sticks out like a sore thumb.
Okay.
It may.
Sir, we're just talking about the items that he raised, any changes that he made to the plan today.
Yeah.
Whether it's appropriateness, again, we had a lot of latitude when we had the public hearing on questions and discussions over, does this fit? Is there, does it consider other? So we've discuss those issues, and we'll consider those issues when we make a decision this evening. Okay, but I don't want to revisit things that
Oh,
we've
so
already talked
I
about.
really don't understand where we are, because what Mr. Ruggieri said today may have answered some of my questions on the last meeting, but I don't know. So actually, I still don't know what's going on my fence line back there. So, like, my questions are not answered, is what I'm saying.
So the landscaping that he put on that
Yeah, like he's
eastern
saying
border.
he's added this and done that, and, you know, it's still unclear to me what's going on.
I'll tell you what, if like I suggested to the other individual, if you want to look at individually what item,
Yeah.
please, I encourage you to come to the township and sit down with the planner. You can go
Okay.
through, what trees or what, but it has been presented to this body, so, and we'll determine whether.
Yeah, because at the moment, it looks like a hippie convention out the back with all the pink ribbons on all the trees, so
Okay.
I know they're not all going to stay there,
Yeah,
so
but,
it's...
all right, well.
So, it's just like, to me now, everything's still up in the air. I still really don't know how it's going to look, so...
Okay. All right, sir.
Thank you.
Okay.
Good evening. Blake Pennant, 55379 Theo Drive. I've been living on Theo Drive since it was originally developed 38 years ago. And I personally knew Ted Alsberg and Don Hagan, who developed the sub. Their intention for Theo was to extend in and incorporate the existing house on that property. So it was designed to do that, and it fell through at the last minute. So they opted to leave it as a dead-end street. Respecting that, but yet understanding that the fire department appreciates the fact that they have 2 points of entrance and access. I'd like to see some type of control, traffic control placed there. I know there was gates suggested and brought up tonight, but there are other things that can be done. Breakaway post, or fold-on posts that would still give emergency vehicles access through that, and yet control the traffic and kind of maintain that dead-end concept that the sub was designed for. So if you could consider that, I'd greatly appreciate it.
Okay, thank you. Okay, is there anyone else? He signed it.
I did, okay. This one.
My name is Andreas Kibrianidis. I live on 55127 Jewel Road, and I've been there for 20 years. And Mr. Ruggieri said today that he lives across the street from the subdivision. He's not. I live across the street from the subdivision. And I'm the one who's facing, as you see, the driveway, his driveway is across the street from my driveway directly. Right now, I have a hard time to get out of my driveway. 7 o'clock in the morning until 9, 10 o'clock in the morning, 3 o'clock in the afternoon until 5, 6 o'clock in the afternoon. The only thing we don't appreciate the entrance on Jewel Road. It's something that I went and talked to Mr. Stathakas about it. And he told me that that's what the road commission appointed that site. And it's a lie, or misinformed. The road commission, Mr. Bush said that they never presented him with the other entrance on 25 Mile. It's already existing entrance on 25 Mile. On lot 11 and 12, it's already road there on 25 Mile. And I don't know why they plug it that road to make it 2 lots there, and they can have 2 entrances on 25 Mile. It would be a lot easier to access the fire department on Jewel Road. As you see now, by putting the driveway on Jewel and extending Theos, the whole subdivision, all the rest of 30 lots, they are locked in. There's no entrance, there's no exit. So I don't know how you guys approve something like that,
Okay,
and then
so-
you send it to the,
Your son has made it clear.
Yes.
It's been in writing. These issues were raised
but I
at the
don't
last
see-
time. So, all right, we have heard we understand your opinion, okay? We consider everyone's opinion when making our recommendation, okay?
but I
And
still.
I understand this, what
I
this
see why
decision
they're
may,
blaming-
this decision may or may not make you happy, okay? But frankly, the decisions that we make are on behalf of the entire
My
township.
question is why they're blaming the road commission
I
for
don't- I- again,
appointing the,
Sir, I don't know who blamed whom, okay? I do know that this plan was submitted to this body. It was submitted to the road commission, and then, recommended the taper, recommended the location, given all the considerations that the road commission has. And frankly, I don't know that I would, in whatever thing beyond that is just frankly speculation.
so it shouldn't.
So we're gonna address this plan
I mean,
as
is-
it's been
is it worth-
presented, okay? One could make many arguments why you wouldn't want to put it on the 25-mile road, but frankly, that's not my job. And that's not something that, I will consider as my fellow board members will consider, because you've made, and your son have made your case that it shouldn't be on Jewel, it should be on 25-mile road. So when we make this recommendation this evening, we're going to consider whether, all right, is 25-mile road a better location than Jewel, and then we'll make our decision. Okay? So you've made your point clear, and I thank you.
I appreciate it.
Okay?
Thank you.
And with that, unless there are any questions from the board, I'll entertain a motion.
Mr. Chairman,
Mr. Turner.
I'm going to move to recommend approval to the Township Board for final PUD for Phil Ruggieri, Encore of Shelby, site plan number 231-16 PUD3, consisting of a 35-unit detached plan unit development site plan for the following reasons. The final plan unit development site plan provides a mixture of housing options that are consistent with the recommendations contained in the master plan. A final PUD agreement is required that takes into account the traffic impacts associated with this development, and a revised site plan is required addressing all department comments.
Support.
Okay, moved by Turner, support by Apone. Any questions on the motion? Hearing none. Commissioner Turner.
Yes.
Commissioner Apone.
Yes.
Commissioner Larray.
Yes.
Commissioner Snyder.
Yes.
Commissioner Meredith.
Yes.
Commissioner Gonzalez.
Yes.
Commissioner Grott.
Yes.
Commissioner Moore.
Yes.
And the chair votes yes. Okay, good luck. Thank you very much. Next item is site plan number 21-25, James Tavano for Hamlin Pub.
Good evening, James Tavano, 67819 Lake Angela Drive, Richmond, Michigan. We are proposing to to extend the patio out at our location at 25 in Van Dyke. We will be taking up 4 of the parking spaces and filling them with concrete, and then wrapping that around with a barrier 36 inches high, approximately 52 seats for outdoor dining of food, beverage, and alcohol.
As I mentioned to the planner when I spoke to her earlier, like last week, it's nice to get a no-brainer every once in a while. So, just one question: is there an existing door, like sort of behind where you have the bank, where you have like to
Yes.
access? Are you gonna? Is there you got a stage on the inside, right? Are you moving that or?
No, the stage is in the middle of the building
Okay. Is
where
this gonna-
our game room is. There's a door.
Okay.
That'll go right outside there.
So that'll be your. Okay.
Correct.
Okay. To the planner.
Just some minor site plan comments, Chairman, as far as technical issues, but the other recommendation is for a 5-foot sidewalk along the southwest portion of that, where the edge of the patio is, actually, so that the patrons can go around safely and exit out safely. So with that being said, I don't know if it's going to reduce the amount of seating, but that also has to meet the restroom requirements per the building department.
Okay.
Okay. Other than that, hours of operation must be specified on the site plan. There's also a light pole that is between the building and the proposed seating. So is that going to remain there, or is that going to be removed?
That will remain.
The light pole's going to remain?
Correct.
Okay, okay. The building department also requires 2 means of egress from that area. So I see you have one on this west portion,
Correct.
and then, I'm not sure if you want to put one on the north, a breakaway gate on the north portion as well? Or the east, I should say.
Yeah, okay. The
east.
north would be towards the building. Okay.
Yeah. Other than that, everything meets the site plan zoning ordinance.
Okay, thank you. To the board, anyone have any questions, comments? No free drinks for you, Mr. Opone, just so you. With that, I'll entertain a motion.
Mr. Chair,
Commissioner Moore.
I move to approve site plan 2125 for James Tavano for Hamlin Pub, 55076 Van Dyke, parcel number 22-07-03-351-013, located at the northwest corner of 25 Mile Road in Van Dyke. Outdoor patio approved, subject to the submission of revised site plan addressing all department comments.
Support. Second.
To give you the plausible deniability, Mr. Opone, I'm going to call on Mr. Grad as the support on that. Any questions on the motion? Hearing none. Commissioner Moore?
Yes.
Commissioner Grott?
Yes.
Commissioner Gonzalez?
Yes.
Commissioner Meredith?
Yes.
Commissioner Snyder?
Yes.
Commissioner Turner?
Yes.
Commissioner Loray?
Yes.
Commissioner Opone?
Yes.
And Chair votes yes. Good luck.
Thank you.
Next item is site plan number 21-25, Joseph Caradona, United 23 Shelby LLC.
Good evening.
The site plan
Joe
that never goes
Caradona.
away.
You need me to say who I am? or-
Yes, please. And
Joe
address.
Caradona,
Yeah.
2145 Crooks Road, Suite 210, Troy, Michigan. We're here before you. This was previously approved for an addition, basically underneath the drive-through of the former bank, now insurance office. And thankfully, the tenant has been doing so well and growing his business. He asked if we could add a little more room. So what we proposed is to square off the back along the back edge of the building and add approximately another 2 offices and 8 cubicles inside that space, giving him the additional room for his employees, also enclosing kind of the covered entrance in the back, so giving him a little extra covered space to come inside the building. And then we are adding an accessory building. We had some extra room on the site, and thankfully the hotel and the other project's been doing well, so we can use all the storage space we can get our hands on for patio furniture, things like that, decor.
Okay. This doesn't affect the parking, any parking calculation?
No, actually, they meet the parking requirement with that addition,
With the
because when that site was originally approved, they offered extra parking spaces.
Okay, so it doesn't push them out of
Nope.
compliance? Okay.
No.
I want you to go ahead with your report.
The only other thing is setback. The applicant's going to require a setback variance for the accessory building, because along the freeway, it requires a 50-foot rear yard setback, and they're at 27.91. I don't see any issues with this variance request. However, we would have to go through it. There's a large, because of the road right-of-way, there's a large landscape buffer there, and I don't think it's not going to impact anybody one way or another.
Okay. To the board, any questions or comments? Hearing none, entertain a motion.
Mr. Chair,
Commissioner Moore.
I move to approve site plan 21-26 for Joseph Cardona, United 23 Shelby LLC for parcel number 23-07-23-151-014, located at the southwest corner of 23 Mile Road and Corporate Drive, based on the applicant submitting revised plans addressing department and engineering comments and obtaining a variance for the accessory building setback from the Zoning Board of Appeals.
Support.
I'm sorry, who supported that?
I did, and Mr. Snyder did.
I'm going to say Mr. Snyder.
All right.
We don't, yes. To the motion maker and support, can we add a line, just recommending support of the variance request to the Zoning Board of Appeals.
Yes.
Sure. Thank you. Any questions on the motion? Hearing none. Commissioner Moore?
Yes.
Commissioner Snyder?
Yes.
Commissioner Meredith?
Yes.
Commissioner Gonzalez?
Yes.
Commissioner Grott?
Yes.
Commissioner Turner?
Yes.
Commissioner Opone?
Yes.
Commissioner Larray?
Yes.
Chair votes yes. Good luck.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it.
Planning Director's report.
Okay, one item, Chairman, this capital improvement plan for 2021 and 2027. The report outlines all the capital improvement projects by department. We have reviewed it with the Township Board, and adjustments have been made. So basically, it's just your review of it and offering a recommendation to pass on to the Township Board.
Okay. Are there any comments or questions for any of the items? Anybody want their sidewalk fixed? No? Now would be the time to throw it on? No, I'm kidding. With that, I'll entertain a motion to,
Mr. Chairman?
Mr. Meredith, was that you?
Yes, I was going to recommend approval.
Okay, is there support?
Support. Support.
It's moved by Meredith, support by Turner. Any questions on the motion? Hearing none. Commissioner Meredith?
Yes.
Commissioner Turner?
Yes.
Commissioner Opone?
Yes.
Commissioner Larray?
Yes.
Commissioner Snyder?
Yes.
Commissioner Gonzalez?
Yes.
Commissioner Grott?
Yes.
Commissioner Moore?
Yes.
Chair votes yes. We got nobody in the audience. Craig, you want to say anything? Yeah, you want to raise? Now would be the time to start making your arguments.
Wait a minute now.
All right, I guess if there's nothing else, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Support.
Moved and support, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye, motion carries.
Good night.